Everyone, I'm going to kindly ask that we turn off or silence all cell phones or electronic devices at this time. Thank you.
I have learned that in times of separation and loss and sorrow, the Psalms can bring much comfort and solace. In this spirit, I now recite from the 23rd Psalm, this great psalm of faith. And these words remind us that even when we feel alone or lonely, we are never truly alone, for God is with us. And we know that God is with Marian. Mizmor le David, Adonai roi lo echsar. You could join me in the translation. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I continue with a more modern day poem, and Marian liked poems. This is a reading that we offer usually around the time of the high holidays. I am sure that Marian probably heard it before. I think she liked it, or she would have told me otherwise. At the rising of the sun and at its going down, we will remember Marian. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember her. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember Marian. At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, we will remember her. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember her. At the beginning of the year, and when it ends, we will remember her. As long as we live, she too will live, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, when we are lost and sick at heart, when we have joy we crave to share, when we have decisions that are difficult to make, when we have achievements that are based on hers, we will remember Marian. As long as we live, she too will live, for she is now a part of us, all of us, as we remember her. We will remember Marian, Mom, Grandma, Mom, Graham, Bubby, and Marian. When you live to be 99, you accumulate a lot of loving names. She was memorable. She was unique. She was one of a kind. one special lady who made everyone else feel special and appreciated. To know Marian was and is to love her, and everybody did, which is so evident here today. Marian was warm and friendly, caring and giving, kind and nurturing. Nurturing to Marian meant feeding people. If truth be known, she didn't like to cook, but she did it very well. My mom will be lovingly remembered for her kugel, which she called Kegel, or is it the other way around? No, that's it. Scrambled eggs with peppers and onions, her zucchini and corn casserole, and macaroni and cheese with Velveeta. That was the secret ingredient. Marian had a very good mind. She had a mind of her own. She could be stubborn. She had an extraordinary memory. She forgot nothing. And she had this thirst for knowledge and lifelong learning. She mastered the computer at age 80, and she still tap danced. You heard me right. That is why our shared loss is very sad, and it's difficult, and it's profound, because Marian was such a constant, the last of a generation, a positive and dynamic presence, and she was always there for you, her dear family. She would do anything and everything for you, and you for her. Indeed, the greatest joy in life is to be able to say, I still have something to do. I want to accomplish yet more. And so she did, to the very end. I believe that Marian might say to all of us right now, thank you for being here. I know she would say that. She was very gracious. Thank you for being here to support and bring comfort to my dear family and to help tell my good story. And then she might say, don't mourn for me, for I did not lead a mournful life. And you know, in the balance, she certainly did not. Grandma led a long, healthy, full, fulfilling, vital, vibrant, purposeful, and good life. If there is a word to describe Marian, I think that word might be beautiful. She cared about her appearance, was always well put together. She was also a beautiful person, very generous, compassionate, always happy, very enthusiastic. In fact, she already had her outfits picked out for Ami's and Ethan's bar mitzvah, which is coming up shortly. And as an aside, I want you to know, I'm talking to the two of you, you're going to feel her presence with you. And it's going to make you feel strong, very strong. Also, Marian's handwriting was beautiful. She was an excellent writer and a poet, and she was known to write very strong, straightforward letters to manufacturers of products she deemed to be faulty. They were very strong letters. So Marian would appreciate this. In Pirkei Avot, the question is asked, who is rich? And the answer given is one who rejoices in what one already has. Truly, Marian and Paul were very wealthy, even though they were of modest means. One cannot speak of Marian alone without also speaking of Paul, her devoted and loving husband of 74 years. Their love story goes something like this. They first met at a Jewish fraternity party when Marian was 16 and Paul was 19. She went to the dance with another guy. But Paul was so super nice and a great dancer, and he had the car, so she left with him. And they dated for a while until Paul entered the war in the United States Army. Paul had such great war stories to tell. He remembered a variety of experiences, although he never saw any combat. Like how he arranged for fresh eggs to be sent to the base from back home, and they arrived wrapped in beeswax and sawdust. You know all of Pop-Pop's tales because you've heard them before and again. Mom and Pop-Pop were married in 1946. It was a perfect match made in heaven. Paul was stubborn. Marian was strong-willed. They truly complemented one another. She called him Paulie Doll. I see some heads. When he was in trouble. So we found this piece, which she kept in her wallet, and it was read at her 75th birthday. I'd like to read it now. After thanking everyone for being there once again, she writes, "People ask us, what do you do all day now that you've moved to Florida?" This is the way it goes. He, Paul, doesn't like the air conditioning or the ceiling fan on at night. By morning, the temperature in our condo is 82 degrees. When I get up, I turn the air on and I tell him, "Paul, I'm turning the air on." He says, "Okay," and puts his bathrobe on over his clothes. After a while, when I think he wants to thaw out a little, I say, "Paul, I'm turning the air off." He says, "Okay." He takes his bathrobe off and turns the ceiling fan on low. After a while, when the temperature gets in the 80s again, I say, "Paul, I'm turning the air on." He says, "Okay," and puts on his bathrobe until I turn the air off again. This goes on all day. Believe me, we are two very busy people. When Paul died in 2020, when Brian died in 2016, a part of Marian died as well. However, she summoned her great inner strength and did what she needed to do, which was to go on. Marian had many interests and passions: art, dancing, creative writing, finding recipes online, coupons, garage sales, flea markets. They always traveled with Windex and paper towels in the trunk, tissues and peanut butter crackers in the glove compartment, because, you just never know. Olive Garden, Outback, Seasons 52, nurturing lifelong friends, early bird specials. Most of all, Marian loved all of you, her dear family. Bruce and Joyce, the late Brian and Debbie, grandchildren Stacy and Eli, Sean and Shira, Michael and Rainan, Daniel, Jessica, 10 great-grandchildren. Graham had pictures of all of you guys in her room. And she would be so proud that you are here today. We may even hear from some of you in a moment. I know that your mother and Bubby was so proud of all of you. She was proud of your accomplishments and prouder yet of the bright, sensitive, and caring family that you all are. Marian felt your constant support, care, concern, and love. Marian will also be profoundly missed by Rachel and by many nephews and nieces with whom she was very close. It could be said that Marian lived and then she died. I mean, she lived a great life and then she died with dignity, peacefully. She passed like the lady she was. Marian will live on in you and through all of your precious memories and sacred stories. She loved, she was loved in turn, and we know that this love has not ended now with her passing. For as long as we live, she too will live, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. And to keep those memories going, I would like to call on Ami, Aaliyah, and Ethan.
Hello, everyone. We are here today because a very lovely woman has passed. I only knew her for a short amount of time, yet I saw her as one of the best, kindest, and most beloved people I had ever met. Whether you knew her as great-grandma, Bubby, Mama, Mom, or Aunt Marian, there was no doubt she was special. On most of my trips to visit her in Florida, I would spend time at her house. But I always went out front where there was a palm tree, and I would climb and jump and try to reach the coconuts at the top. But I always failed and felt saddened. However, one time there was a fallen coconut, which I placed aside so I could spend more time with my Bubby and Zadie. I enjoyed this trip much more than the other ones. I thought at the time that it was because I had found the rare and hard-to-get coconut, but looking back, it was because I spent more time with them and enjoyed their company more. All I'm trying to say is don't jump for the coconuts high in the trees that you'll never reach, neglecting those on the ground. Take the ones on the ground and cherish them. The literal coconut was full of ants. It was gone. There was no coconut left. Aww. But the figurative one lasted much longer. So hold your friends and family close. Don't cry when they're gone. Smile because they were here. And maybe the fallen coconut will grow into a new tree.
Hello, everyone. When someone close to me dies, I'm sad, not just because I lost a person that I loved, but because I lost the chance to hear the stories that come from an amazing life. My Bubby was an amazing woman, and she lived an amazing life. Yes, I'm using amazing way too much. But in this case, the best scenario is that she got to choose that if it was her time, she was willing to face whatever came next. And I definitely like to think that she died in the spirit of Philly, which is to say she got very, very close to 100 and just didn't make it. Thank you.
I'm going to call on Michael and Daniel. And Noah.
99 years. Our mom arrived on September 8th, 1924. Here are just a few things that were born after she was. FM radio, television, microwave oven, computers, GPS, cell phones, internet. How many people even got here today without about 4 of those? Despite all of that, the most important thing of all to her was her family. Both she and my grandfather would say, no matter what you have in life, you should live long enough to have a great-grandchild, or 3, or 4, or 5, or 8, or 10. It changed over time. Curiously, they never mentioned the grandchildren. But the great-grandchildren, those you should have. Despite living a long time, Mom remained on the cutting edge, as the rabbi was talking about. Her mind was sharp until the very end. And I can remember sitting with her when she was 80 and wanted to learn how to use a computer. And I sat with her through many sessions in her house, and patiently showing her how to use the mouse and navigate things. She took meticulous notes on every step of every process. And her focus and determination were remarkable. And we really thought this would be a blessing because she could keep up with the family over email. What I found out is that what she was really after was access to a limitless trove of online recipes. None of us really knows what it's like to live through so much extraordinary change. One thing I do know is that before my mom left this world, she better have packed a snack. Because I was never, not one time, allowed to leave her house for a flight without a brown bag lunch, including a sandwich, an apple, and some chips or a cookie. And it was only the TSA rules that eventually stopped me from taking a drink. Mom, I love you, and I miss you already.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. It would mean a lot to her. Our mum had an inner strength that could be overlooked, but not for long. First, she put up with our pup-up, Paul Baratz, and that was no easy task. But if you look at the years of her life, you see a theme that permeated: resilience and strength. And when you talk about 99 years, it's very difficult. What period will you pick to show that theme? And I'm going to pick, actually, the last few years. If you remember, in April of 2020, she lost Paul in the midst of COVID. And after a very generous stay in the Florida Keys, thank you, Barbara, she moved to Cherry Hill to live on her own in her own apartment. And she was there for 1 week before she slipped and fell and had to have a hip replacement. So all of that is happening. And she moves to the Chelsea, the assisted living facility, to live with her sister-in-law, Ann. None of that fazed her. And that is a lifetime of events in a short few months. And moving to the Chelsea was a blessing. Our extended family was there. Gary, thank you, Gary, and Sue and Steve and Ryan and Steve and Nancy and Lily and Aunt Betty and even Sandy and Rachel would fly to visit. So there was a lot of support up there. And that enriched her time. But there was also my mom. Hour and a half every week. Thank you, Mom. And my mom did it for her mother-in-law. That won't always happen. But did it because it's what my dad would do. And we all know that, and we're very, very thankful. Now, at the Chelsea, with all this resilience and strength, would my mom complain? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Have you heard about the food? But she did adapt, and she overcame, and she was resilient right up to the very end. She decided what she wanted. She left written instructions on most things. She determined the details. She is a true woman of strength and perseverance, and who was so proud of all of you. A full 99 years. And as Mama and Papa would say, we should all live long enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Noah.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd like to call on Chaim.
Okay, so I'm going to be honest. I'm a bit nervous, but since I am such a bombastic pontificator, I think I'll be able to do it. So, I remember that any time that my family and I visited Altar Bubby, being used for the first time. That's what my father called her, and name just stuck. It means like elder or sage, not like anything sacrificial. So she would always have these chocolates and would be insulted if you didn't take at least 3. So, and right now we're in the holiday of Sukkot, also known as Zaman Simchasenu, the time of happiness. At this point, it seems like some kind of cynical joke, but I think if we look deeper, we can see meaning. Altar Bubby led her life in the way of kindness and gratitude and generosity. There is a reason why God took her soul on Friday, the day before the holiday of happiness. And that reason is that the guy upstairs is trying to teach us a lesson. And that it is that we all should get along, forget about all the petty grievances, and learn to love each other. And that's why she passed on right before Sukkot. Her last lesson to the ever-growing large family that she founded. It is said that at the end of days, things will speed up. That's why in the last book of the Torah, the portions get progressively shorter and shorter. And that's how it was with Altar Bubby. Just a week ago, right? But then, just really fast. So, hopefully, this is a sign that we are approaching the gathering of exiles. And next year, may we see each other in Jerusalem.
I'd like to call on Sean.
All right, so they told me I have like 5 minutes and no more. So I'm setting a timer for 4 minutes in the hopes that I don't go over. And I don't know why they think I might. Not just quite sure. Okay. Yeah, but as a, you want to come up? You can come up. This is Miriam. Okay, you can step on that if you want. There you go. Thanks for coming up. Yeah. So as a teacher, I learned to use timers, and my grandparents encouraged me to teach. So that's something I'll take with me from their good advice that they've given me throughout my life. Yeah, as Chaim mentioned, it's a kind of a conflicting time right now because it is the time of our joy in terms of the holiday season. And so I want to have some reflections about Grandmom, Altar Bubby, that would kind of go along with the theme of Sukkot and Simcha, which is happiness. So, I don't know, probably one of my earliest memories, which I've been reminded of, but I would never forget, is playing soccer in the cold. And there's my grandparents with a blanket around themselves to be able to sit out there and cheer me on. I remember that to this day. The support and love that they gave me at that time brings joy, simcha. There was a time after yeshiva where they took me into their home for a while, and I got to know them, and they were hospitable to me and showed me a lot of love and support, care, kindness, and that all brings joy. If it wasn't this time, I would be wailing more. I'm refraining from doing that. The third thing I have to say, as I have 1:30 left in 4 minutes, just give me an extra minute afterwards, okay, is her parting words to me was, don't fight with people. And that's a good one. That's a good one. To let go of whatever might get in the way of shalom. I think that's her message to me, is to live with peace with people, let go of whatever it is might be keeping you from that. And I believe that's what God wants from us too. He wants us all really to have shalom, peace. And in that way, we could really live b'simcha, with joy. Did you have anything you wanted to say, Missy? No? Thanks for being here. I did just want to finish off with just asking Grandma for mechila, for forgiveness for myself or anyone else who may have hurt her during her lifetime or at any other life, that she should forgive anyone who may need it. And I'm sorry on behalf of myself or anyone who may have hurt you in any way. And I'm going to carry on the message of shalom. Thank you so much. I love you. Okay.
I'd like to call on Stacy, Eli, and Jax.
So I was asked to speak for Stacy and also for my father-in-law, Bruce. So I'll start with Stacy. So picture me looking like Stacy, and I know I'm better looking, but you can try. What can I say? She was always there for me. If I wanted her to worry for me, she would do that too. Those of you who knew her well, worrying was one of her favorite pastimes. She did that for all of us. She wanted us all to be safe and healthy always. I'm not sure how realistic it was, but that was her wish. In all honesty, she was the most nurturing grandparent. When I was really young, she would wash my hands with warm water and soap. It felt so nice, like when you get a manicure. When I told her this as an adult, she was surprised. She was just doing what came natural to her, that loving, nurture self. As a kid, I loved visiting their house. She always had ice cream in the back freezer for us. My favorite was butter pecan. Throughout my life, she was one of my biggest fans. If I learned a new school song, she was right there listening to me sing. I didn't feel comfortable doing that just for anybody, but she loved doing it as I did. She knew how it made me feel special, and she heard it. I realized I was a little spoiled, as I was the only girl out of all the boy cousins, and I was the first grandchild on both sides. I am so lucky I had all 4 grandparents into adulthood. She was my last one. She had a special relationship with Eli and our kids too. Life won't be the same without her. I will miss her dearly. She was a part of my support system and managing my life. Bye, Grams. I love you, is what I told her in our last words. She said it back. You're now with Pops, Brian, and all of our ancestors. We love you all. Just like the others, I look forward to your visits in my dreams. Tell them I all said hello. You want to read the next one?
I'm not good at reading.
Oh,
I don't have my glasses.
oh, okay. So now, for Bruce, my father-in-law. On behalf of the entire Baratz family, I wanted to thank everyone for coming. My mother would have been so honored, but she would have also said, "Why is everybody making such a fuss?" My childhood friend, Jimmy Kress, said my mom was like Donna Reed of Camden, and he was right. Donna Reed, for those of you too young to remember, was a character series in the Donna Reed Show, who amplifies the perfect mother, just like my mom. She was always concerned for her family and friends, always wishing for the best for everyone. When I was 8 years old, my mom sent me for tap dance lessons. At fashion shows, intermissions, I would tap dance with two young girls behind me. All of us had top hats, and they were dressed in all black and would tap dance behind me to the song, Me and My Shadow. If I didn't have back surgery less than 2 weeks ago, I could show you to this day the tap dance step, Shuffle Off the Buffalo. The perfect example of caring was on September 25th, 2023, when my mom was on 13 liters of oxygen, could hardly talk, and was only concerned that Aunt Anne's hairbrush was not being cleaned because she was in the hospital. Sue, Aunt Anne's daughter, visited that day, and my mom taught her how to clean her mom's hairbrush, and was so happy to hear that Sue cleaned it shortly thereafter. So one of her dying wishes was that someone had to continue to clean Aunt Anne's hairbrush. After I approved the hospice to treat my mom on the morning of September 29th, I told my mom on Debbie Baratz's phone that I was flying to see her, that we loved her, and we would see her soon. Her response to me was, "Don't bother." She didn't want me to burden to try to get there for her. She and so many of my family are givers like that. I love being around my family. I love and will miss my mom so very much. Bruce. You want to say anything? You want to talk about it?
So, when I went to the assistant living place, she always said, take one cookie or more to me and my sister. My mom always said no, but I always sneaked one on the way out. But when I ate them, they made me feel happy and joyful. But it reminded me of her. So when me and my sister went back home, we said they were so good, and we talked about her. And I'm gonna miss her.
As we begin to conclude this service, I would like to read this additional poem. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination. But life is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage, from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness and often back again, from health to sickness and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, but life is the journey, a sacred pilgrimage made stage by stage, from birth to death to life everlasting. Let us all rise. Eomole rachamim shochein bamromim Chamitzei menucha nachona tachat kanfei chashchina lenishmat Miriam bat Yaakov Chana shechalachal olama Ba'al harachamim yitzror bitzror hachayim et nishmata Adonai hu nachalata V'tanuach b'shalom al mishkava v'nomor Amen. O God, full of compassion, thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest unto the soul of our beloved Miriam, who has departed from this world. Lord of mercy, bring her into your presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Be thou her possession, and may she rest in peace, and may they rest in peace together. Amen. You may be seated. I have been asked to announce that following this service, all family and friends are invited to return to the home of Debbie Baratz, 14 Marian in Voorhees. There will be a Shiva Minyan tonight at 6, and also a Shiva service tomorrow at 7. And it's your opportunity to share your own stories and memories of this extraordinary lady. Thank you.